for joining us for another episode of the In the Game interview series. We've got a great guest for you today. We've got Robbie Church, head women's soccer coach at Duke University, here with us today. Robbie, first off, thanks for taking the time to talk with us. And why don't you give us a little bit of your playing background, your coaching background, and how long you've been there at Duke.
Wow. How long do we have for this podcast? It's been a long one with it too. We've been fortunate with it. But Reed, thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. This is a great service to have out there for everyone. I grew up in Greensboro, and I really think I played almost in the first soccer that was in North Carolina. We played at Claxton Elementary School. We played, and this was a long time. I think Fred Flintstone was our goalkeeper at that point too. So, we played every day before school at Claxton. We played at recess at Claxton, and we even played some afterwards. They just happened to have two soccer goalposts up in the back in the recess area, and so we played a lot. And then really David Blum and Eric Blum and John Blum all were part of that group that played a lot. And Barbara Blum started the first recreation programs. They actually moved from Greensboro to Atlanta, and then they came back. And when they were in Atlanta, they played in a rec program and organized soccer there. And she actually started the first soccer in North Carolina in the rec program in Greensboro. So it's been a long time. Went to high school in Atlanta, played in Atlanta, which was even at that time was a big soccer area. Came back and played at Appalachian State for a year. And then I played my final 3 years at Pfeiffer College. And then, so afterwards, I, was looking around, like everybody, you get out of school, you figured out what am I going to do here? What I want to do? Had a couple tryouts with the Carolina Lightning, made a couple cuts, but then got cut. Then I got cut, and I was like, I don't really want a real job. So I was fortunate, and Frank Kohlenstein offered me a position as an assistant coach at USC Upstate. Now, this was on the boys' side. So the first 10 years of my career was on the men's side. I was with Frank for a year at USC Spartanburg, and then I probably made, I don't know, it's debatable. I don't think I made a great decision leaving Frank. I should have probably stayed a couple more years and learned from him. He's been a great mentor of mine my whole career. But I went to East Carolina as the men's coach. Took the job in August. I think I had 10 days before we started the season. $1,500 was my first salary. I flipped pizza on the strip there of Greenville at the time over at the Pizza Inn. And during the evening, coached during the day, and flip pizza and make pizzas at night on the strip in Greenville. But I was there for 2 years. And then I went to Duke as a volunteer assistant with John Rennie. That was before there was any women's programs at Duke. And so I was 2 years at Duke, and then I really, really got a great break and was able to go to Belmont Abbey College. I was 5 years as the head men's coach at Belmont Abbey, and we had some really, really good teams. Went to the NAIA national championships, and that was just a great place. There was a lot of young coaches there. A lot of coaches. Dick Cook, who was baseball coach at Davidson for many years. Kevin Eastman was the athletic director and basketball coach. Kevin had a great, great career in basketball. Was with the Boston Celtics for years, vice president of the Clippers, and has been a good friend up to this point. So we were all young families, and really had just a great, great time. From there, I went down to Florida, and I took a national program over. Went to, it was College of Boca Raton at that time. Now it's Lynn University. Went to the NAIA national championships, and our first year there. So we played in the finals, got beat by West Virginia Wesleyan. And then, at that point, we kind of made a family decision. We had two small children at that point to come back home. And so we came back to Charlotte, where my wife has worked at her job, continues for over 35 years. She got her old job back, and I came back in, and I ended up at Charlotte Country Day School. And I was coaching, and that's where I really started coaching on the girls' side. So in the fall, I was coaching the boys. In the spring, I was coaching the girls, and really enjoyed that. That was especially the coaching part. I really enjoyed the first time I had any experience on the women's side, and really enjoyed those relationships and those communication pieces with the girls. I really enjoyed Country Day. Taught seventh grade PE, and playing softball every spring got a little old after about the third year or so of pitching softball. My arm wore out. But then I got a call from UNC Charlotte. Had a lot of relationships with UNC Charlotte when I was at Belmont Abbey on the men's side, and had a lot of Mark Cologne, assistant AD there, was good friend. Judy Rose, who hired me, was there. I knew them. So it was kind of unique. I just never had that feel that I kind of wanted to do just the women all the time. So I actually turned down the job 3 times at UNC Charlotte, or 2 times. And then the third time came real good friend, Jimmy Blankenship, who's at Florida Gulf Coast. When I was a men's coach at Boca Raton, he was a women's coach. So we've been very close for a number of years. Jimmy came up and interviewed for the job at UNC Charlotte, and he stayed at our house. And that night we went out to get something to eat, and we were sitting there, and he was talking about the vision of Charlotte, what they were going to do, all they were going to put into it. And I was like, I kept thinking, oh my gosh, you dummy, how did you turn this down? So Jimmy accepted a job, went home, and he bought, he bought a new house in the Boca area, and they just had a hard time selling it, and they were going to lose money on it. So 2 weeks later, he called him back and was like, I just can't do it. I can't come. We're going to lose it financially with the new house and younger kids and everything. So once Jimmy called, he called me first, and I let him make the first phone call. And then I made the second phone call, was like, okay, yeah, if you guys will take me, if you guys will have me, you want to talk, interview, we'll be happy to come. And so we ended up coming in, taking the job in February. And in February, they had no players. Here's a schedule. We'll start in August. Good luck. So we were able to get 27 players. 27 players. But again, it was a lot easier at that time. That was kind of right at the beginning of the explosion of women's soccer. So we were able to go in. We brought a lot of the Greensboro Twisters at that time, which were very good. Sarah Judy, a couple, Jill Curry. We ended up getting some Stacy Weaver, who's now the strength coach there. Some really, really good players late in the process, and had a really good first year. So I spent 5 years at UNC Charlotte, spent 2 years at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee, and really enjoyed that. We lived in a great little town in Franklin, Tennessee, and kids were going to, Ashley was in high school there at Franklin, and then got a call from Duke, which has always been, for me, my dream school. My uncle went to Duke years ago, played football a couple years at Duke, and ever since I was really 3 and 4 years old, we lived in Greensboro. He lived in North Wilkesboro, and he would come down from North Wilkesboro, pick me up, and we would go to football games at Duke, and we'd go to basketball games at Duke, while everybody in our neighborhood and everybody in our school districts were all Carolina fans. Of course, I think at that point I was the lone Duke fan, and so got a call from Duke, and I still had relationships from being there with Duke on the men's side as a volunteer coach for a year. Bill Hempen when I actually left to go to Belmont Abbey, Bill Hempen came in and he took my place. 2 years later, Duke started the women's program. And so Bill called me when he was going to Colorado and says, hey, let's connect this circle. Would you be interested in coming back? And we really enjoyed Nashville. We really enjoyed Vanderbilt. I don't know if there was another place. I grew up in Greensboro. My wife is from High Point. So, had the opportunity to come back to Duke, and starting this season will be 20th year at Duke, which is absolutely amazing. It's crazy, how quickly things go, and, I've been very blessed, and starting this season would be my 39th season in coaching. So very lucky. So you have an old guy. We've had younger guys in before, so I probably doubled both their ages.
I don't think you're quite there on me. I feel young, but I don't think I'm that young. Yeah, that's obviously, your coaching journey is taking you all over, and the thing that keeps coming back is as you talk your way through your journey, it's the connections that you've made along the way that have always it's always a huge part of what we do, and I think that's what this whole series is what we're trying to do. It's just trying to to connect coaches. I've had club coaches on, had small college coaches on, had high school coaches on, and obviously now we're starting to get into some of the larger D1 coaches as well. So, I think that's a big piece of what we do for sure.
No, I agree. It's like I said earlier, I've been in every level of play. The one area I really didn't spend a lot of time in, and probably wish I'd spent more time, is I haven't done a lot of club work. I really went right into college. It was kind of interesting how I did it. Actually, between my junior and senior year at Pfeiffer, I got injured at the end of the spring in my junior year. So I was looking for something. How could I play at that point? Summer soccer. There wasn't a lot of it. I'd gone to Atlanta. I'd lived in Atlanta. I played in some summer leagues in Atlanta and lived with some friends there. But I was looking for, right before college started, I was looking for how I could play. So I actually signed up for a national coaching course, and it was at South Carolina. It was in Columbia, and it was, and I really thought, I was like reading, I was like, oh, this is great. You practice, you play. This is 2 weeks before our preseason starts at Pfeiffer. This will help me get touches, help me get in shape a little bit. But I didn't know it was a C coaching course, a national C level. So I ended up showing up. And by matter of fact, Frank Kohlenstein at USC Spartanburg, who gave me my first job in this thing, was my roommate. So I remember going to our first meeting was a classroom meeting. So we end up at the door with Frank. Frank is there holding his notebook with his pens and his paper, ready to take notes. And I come popping around the corner with my ball under my hand, my cleats in my hand. And I'm looking at him like, why do you have a notebook? Why do you have flip-flops on? He goes, no, we're in the classroom. This is a coaching course. And I was like, darn, I thought we were going to be playing all that. We did a lot of playing out there, demonstration. I jumped at all the demonstrations, but that's how I really got started. Even at the end of that, and that was a week-long thing, even at the end of the thing, Frank gave me a job afterwards for living. But that's how I kind of got into this crazy world that we're in, and one that's been, obviously very good to me and my family, and, been able to meet so many people across the country like yourself, and so many really good people to connect with.
Yeah. And I think, I can kind of talk about my experience with that as well. I got a couple, wow, it feels like it wasn't that long ago, but probably 6 or 7 or 8, maybe even 8 years ago at this point. Because I think it might have been around the time my son was born. I had finished working my summer camps for the year. I was an assistant at Mount Olive at the time, and I was preparing. I'd gotten home, and it was kind of like that relief of, I've got 2 weeks now just to kind of relax and recharge and get ready for our preseason. And then I got a call from my head coach who was working at camp at the time, and he said, hey, Robbie Church is going to call you in about 5 minutes. You probably want to answer it. And answering that phone call was probably one of the best things that I've done in a long time. And he asked me to come in and work camp for you, and I came in and worked, and it's been a very rewarding relationship for me since then, for sure.
Well, great, thank you. No, that means a lot. It means a lot.
And part of that is I get to kind of come out and watch you guys train whenever we can make the schedules work. And
we love that.
That's a big piece of what I'm trying to do, just kind of develop myself as a coach. And one of the things that's always struck me is whenever we watch you train, your teams, when they're on, it's super intense, and it's not super long sessions. I mean, there's been times where I've been out there and you're done in 45 minutes, but the entire 45 minutes is just you're going. How do you guys really cultivate that within your program?
Right. Now it's a great question. And obviously you didn't see me 10 years ago when we'd have 3-hour practices, and we would come back twice a day at least for 3 hours practices at each of the time. So hopefully as coaches, we've evolved over that. And I think a lot of that has been, some of the, as you know, and our assistants well, with Billy Lassane and Erwin Benacom and Kieran Hall. And of course, Carl Overbeck has been there forever, and Lane Davis working as a goalkeeper with us. We have really good people that work in our staff, and they're number one, they're quality people. They're really good teachers of the game. They're really good teachers of the game. They're great knowledge of the game. Right now, one of the main things is, Billy was with us for 14 years, but when Billy did take the Georgia job, and we were very proud of that, of him taking a Georgia job, I wanted to make sure for me that I got somebody that was going to keep us keep me fresh. I'm always looking for somebody who's better than I am. I want people to know more than I know because the game is always changing. And I think that is, and I want people that is going to come out there and challenge me still, even 39 years into the game. I want to learn from them. I'm not scared at this stage of my career to have those people, be in the forefront and do a lot of stuff in training. What's going to be the best for our program? Not, how are we going to be successful? We're obviously, as you know, in a ultra tough league in the ACC, and that's why I have all this gray hair and some gray hair on my face. I don't know why that is, but it's the league that we've played in, the league I've been in for 20 years, and we want to be competitive. We've done well, but we still haven't done what we want to do. That's to win a national championship, and so I think our staff is number one. Kind of long-winded answer for our staff. We do a lot of planning out sessions. We do a lot of planning. Okay, you talked on this time. I'll take this time. You'll go here. I think that the key thing is our standards are high, and nobody's going to let our standards drop. And our players know that. We do a lot of communication. We do a lot of explaining of our training beforehand. We're always in our team room. We're always going over what our training sessions are going to be. We're always giving them our coaching points so that we can keep moving on the field. We sometimes have long discussions about that. We always communicate as much information as we can to our players. So once we get to the field, we're I think as organized as we possibly can be. And once we get there, we ask the girls to tune in. And, I think it does go back to the players. It does. They know what they have to do to compete at this level. They know that training is so important, and we treat training, I know, games obviously is what we're all judged on, and the wins and losses what we're all judged on. But we're really, really big in developing our players. We want to develop our players, and sometimes that sounds silly to say that, in a college environment. But college is not always an easy place to develop players. There's so many outside distractions that come in with their players. So, I think everybody's on the same page. Everybody's committed to one goal, and that's to get better. And that's some of the things that I really enjoy about coaching, and what keeps me, fairly young at this old age is that I just love to see a team get better. There's just nothing for me. I think it's the greatest profession is when you start the year in August, and who knows when we're going to start it this year. And I will really miss if we don't have preseason. I will really miss that time. I enjoy that month that we're almost professional soccer players. It's nothing but soccer, and and I get the academics. I understand, especially, Duke academics. I get that as well as anybody, but I still enjoy that month of a preseason, basically, that we have with our team and we develop. But I really enjoy that development and see a team come from August. We obviously, our goals are lofty. We want to play December soccer, and we feel like, you had a hell of a year if you play December soccer. We want to play Thanksgiving soccer. We want to have Thanksgiving together. And that's you're at quarterfinals of that. You're in the top 8. So you had a really good year if you do that, if you play Thanksgiving soccer. And those are things that are important. But I just, I think, especially over the last 5 or 6 years, 7 years that you have come around that program, we have tried to keep it sharper. Fit for 90 with John Cohn down the road. There's another free advertisement for you, John. Is something that's really big in our program. And, it was 2014, we didn't make the NCAA tournament. We had gone to the finals in 2011. We gone to 2012. We had gone to the final 8. 2013, we gone to the final 8. 2014, we didn't make the NCAA tournament. Now, there was a big year of graduation, and there was a number of injuries in that year. So there's a lot of things that you could grab hold or gravitate towards and say, hey, and use the excuses if you want to. But I knew at that point, there had to be changes in our program. I knew we had to do things different. I didn't know exactly what they were and how we were going to implement them and what was going to be important. But, I knew they had to happen. And, at that point, Billy got the job in Georgia, which opened up a spot. And, Billy did an unbelievable job with us. But it gave us a chance to go in a different direction. And it gave us a chance, and Irwin came in, who's now the head coach at Indiana University, came in and brought new ideas, new ways, new structures, different things that we haven't done in our program in the past, and different goals. And, staff bought in as one, players bought in one, and, we ended up in the national championship game that year, which was really, really amazing. But I think, again, it's just being open to new ideas, always looking back and how we did things last year. We all feel it's only human nature to be comfortable in what you do, especially if you get success. But I think real coaching is, if you have success, can you change that? How can you make that better? How can you implement things? And, as it leads it kind of back into one, that's what I enjoy about coaching so much is, can this team that you get dealt with in August, can you take it to its full capabilities? And, sometimes that's making the NCAA tournament. I thought last year we got beaten the second round, but I thought our coaching staff and our players did a fantastic job, because I thought that was a cap of our team. I thought, maybe we could have won and got to the final 16. We all, as coaches, looked, maybe we could just take one more step. But I think we were pretty close. We just lacked, and we have to get better. And that goes back to the recruiting piece. We have to get better and bring in, some better players in recruiting to kind of take that next step in the final 16 and the final 8.
Yeah, I think you guys had quite a few injuries last year that kind of hampered you as well. I was kind of around when one or two of those kind of hit during preseason. That was, I know that was tough for you guys to handle last year as well. Talking about your planning of the sessions and reaching out to your team and communicating that with your team. How far out do you guys typically plan your sets?
I'm sorry, read one more time on that.
How far out do you guys typically plan out your sessions? So if you're training on a Monday, how far out do you guys usually have that out to the team?
Yeah, so we end up, let's go, if we reverse and go into preseason a little bit. So we always like to script going into preseason. We all have ideas of how we want to play. And we have ideas how we want to play in possession. We have ideas how we want to play out of possessions and stuff. And we like to script that the first 7 to 10 days into preseason, or kind of up to our first exhibition game. Last year we played 2. Up to that we only played 1. So we do that, and then we let the game kind of tell us what we need, and then what our eyes start to look. So. And we kind of adjust from that. So in preseason, we do it daily. We meet early in the morning at 9 o'clock. And sometimes we have 2-day practices. If we do that and have that earlier, we'll meet the afternoon or the evening after our second practice and kind of go over. But once we get in the regular season, Monday is our mandatory day off by the NCAA. We have a lot of our young ladies that are still pre-med majors, and a lot of them are taking classes in. So we meet as a staff and we make a skeleton a little bit of the week. What do we want to do on Monday? What do we want to do on Tuesday? What do we want to do on Wednesday? Typically play on Thursday. What do we want to do Friday, Saturday, and play on Sunday? It's kind of our typical week. Even out of conference, we've been able to adjust that. And, as with college soccer, it's such a different animal of anything in the world. And once the regular season starts, you're really not training a lot. You're doing a lot of recovery, and you're doing a lot of prepping, and very, very little time. In the ACC, we have it where we only play 10 of our 14 teams. So we have 3 teams we miss every year. So we actually have a 1-2-1-2 rhythm. So first week of the ACC play, we only play 1 game. So that week we may, depending, whoever hosts the game, they decide, is it on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, depending on men's soccer, football, number of factors. Sometimes if it's on Sunday, boom, we've got some good days good training sessions in there. If it's on Friday, we get 1 extra one on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday prep, Friday play, Sunday recovery, or Saturday recovery, and then Sunday play again too. So we like to have the skeleton on Monday for the full week. We kind of drop in the activities of what we want to do. So maybe Tuesday would be a big defending day. Maybe Wednesday becomes a big attacking day. We sprinkle in set plays in both of those sessions. Kind of defending set plays, attacking set plays will be sprinkled in. During those times. We have, I think, over the years, I know for me, it's become more and more important to make sure we get our set plays in, make sure that we're good defensively, with quality on services offensively. And I think that has really helped us over the last couple of years, putting more emphasis on our set plays. It's an easy thing to pass over. I'll get to that tomorrow. No, we ran out of time. We got to get off the field. You have to make time for that too. So.
Yeah, I think that's something that we've tried to be better with as well with our set pieces. Haven't quite gotten there yet, but obviously we're still kind of bringing in the better players, and that's going to obviously help us continue to get better at that.
For sure.
How has obviously the ACC Network has started up over the last couple of years? How has that affected? Obviously, it's been nice for me personally because I get to watch you guys play a lot more. But how has that affected you guys?
Hopefully it's been a positive. I think it's been a positive. Last year we played on the ACC Network 6 times. We didn't win a game on the ACC Network. We were 0-2-4. We had 3 0-0 games. So I was really interesting to see if they're going to invite us back next year with this.
I watched at least 4 of those games, and I started to think it was just me watching was a jinx. So I'll make sure that next time you guys play on there, I don't watch it.
No. So I think we played good soccer during those games, and I think they were really exciting 0-0 games that we played in, but we didn't score a ton of goals. But no, the platform's great. The platform is great. I think overall it can't, again, it's new. First year was actually last August. So we're getting on the 1-year anniversary of the ACC Network. There are people in California. There's some of our players from California. Our team kind of really mirrors what Duke has in student body. So we have players from all over the country. So we have a number of kids from California, and their family some of their families have it out there so they can see it. I think there's been an adjustment of how to see it. It was pretty easy to see us on the computer also, but now to be on the network, and I think it's much more professional on the network. They bring Laurie Lindsay has been probably the host analyst on, and she had a great pro career, great playing career at UVA. And, they had a lot of ex-players as analysts, and I think they brought some quality to the game and explaining the game. It's great to scout from. It's another way to scout from. It's a little bit different. The camera angles we'd like to see a little bit bigger. There's one thing we've talked about, see a little bit more of the field so you can see out of possession a little bit. You can see off the ball a little bit more. But I think overall it's been a huge positive. It's been a huge positive for everybody. I think the spring sports, unfortunately, with all their cancellations, we're just getting in to become part of that. I think everybody enjoys it. I think it was really starting to go down the road and make some money for the ACC. I think the buyouts, and I don't know where they stand with the shutdown and of the virus and everything, but the projected and the money coming into different schools were going to be higher than they originally thought. So I think it was a win-win for a lot of things, a lot of reasons.
Nice. I think, obviously I try to watch as many high-level games as I can, and that's just another avenue for me personally. So I try to take advantage of it as much as possible. Obviously I'm going to support you guys and watch you as much as I can, but I try to catch, even if it was like a Virginia Tech, one of those other schools that are playing. I try to catch it as well.
Yeah. No.
But so how would you describe your style of play there with Duke?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question so I looked at the questions with it too, because, I think styles of play, they're really different. I like to describe, what's our style in possession? What do we want to try to do in possession? And then what do we want to try to do out of possession a little bit? So I think, more of our style in possession is that, again, we look for players that can play with the ball at their feet. That's when Kieran goes out, myself goes out recruiting with the main recruiters in there. We're always looking for players that are good under pressure, can play out of pressure, can play with both feet, can play with all surfaces of their feet, can strike a good ball, and then specialty qualities if you're a forward, to be players that can run at people. So I think I know I don't like the term possession style all the time, but I think in possession, we really like to play. We like to play between the lines. We like to build from the back, ideally. Now, We're not completely stupid. If people press us and press us really high, we're gonna have to relieve that pressure. And I think that's something we have to do a little bit better of. Sometimes we're very predictable of how we play, but we like to play between the lines, from the backs to the midfields, to the forwards. We've always been blessed with a lot of really creative, like Ella Stevens that was with us. We've always been very blessed with a lot of really creative central midfield players who's been good with the final ball and's been able to strike from distance and been able to set players up, and some of them been able to score on their own. So I think in possession, we definitely like to do that. Play that way. Out of possession, again, we at times last year was a really unusual. As you saw us play, we fell very deep last year out of possession, and that was kind of from injuries, as you mentioned earlier, and kind of the need. And then some of the teams that we play were better than we were, so we had to figure out ways as a coaching staff, and the team had to buy into it. So it's not just as easy, just the coaching staff. The team has to buy into it too, because they love to play attacking soccer and they love to play with it too. But we fell a little bit deeper last year than we really wanted to. Ideally, we like to press higher up the field. We like to be able to counter press when we lose the ball, and defending, we like to really defend higher up the field.
Sounds good. Yeah, I think that I definitely I watching you guys play last year was definitely very, very different. But I think as far as those creative attacking players, that's one of the things that's always really stood out since I've really started to watch you guys more. And obviously Ella is the most recent one.
Yeah.
How do you guys really go about finding those players other than just being Duke and having that national name and having players reach out to you?
Right. Well, I think, everybody has their group of people that they recruit against, and obviously we're fortunate because we are at such a great university, and, academics in our sport is still very, very big. This is the golden age, as I say many times to our camp people that come in and recruits. I mean, what great options are out there for women's soccer? I think I've been in this a long time, and there's the options are, to play here, to play abroad, to play domestically. It's unbelievable, is the options really go, but it's still a sport that doesn't really can support you and kind of support you probably of the life that you want to have and your family wants to have with it too. So academics are still important. And, so that is one thing that, of course, draws a lot of players. What we try to sell here at Duke is, we try to sell a world-class education and also playing in the best women's soccer conference in the country. And I think we're still, even Duke is even more unique. We have a lot of great academic institutions in our conference, but I also feel Duke is a different level than most of those. So we are really looking for the young ladies that want to be challenged in both areas, both on the soccer field and in the classroom. And, that's the thing. We've been fortunate. Not only do they do a great job, but I think we've been 16, 17 semesters with a team over 3.4 GPA, and been about 7 or 8 semesters with a team over 3.5. So they do a great job. So obviously that's the first look. We have to find young ladies that want to do both. They want to, if you just want to go to college for soccer, Duke's probably not the right place for you. But if you want to be challenged in both areas, so that's the first thing. Second thing, again, is it's a preference. It's a style of play. It's again, not saying that our style is better than anybody else's style. Everybody's got to make a decision as a coach, a coaching staff, of how you want to play the game, and that may change season to season, game to game, as we saw a little bit last year for us, much more than it ever have in the past. But we do have an idea. We have a thought process in our head that this is how we want to play, and then we try to go out and find the players that fit in. And then sometimes you've got to find it's specialty players too. It's your 2 center backs, I think are real specialty players. What kind of center backs do you want? Do you want players that are really good with the ball? Do you want them to be hard? Do you want them to be good in the air? You want them to be able to step? And same thing as your wide 7-11s. I think those are specialty players too, where we really like our players to take players up. We really like those wide players to run it to run at players and be really good off the dribble, be able to combine people, but be very creative in the final third. I feel we're very, very disciplined what we do defensively, but I feel we're very undisciplined, which I think, and I use that in a good terminology, what we do offensively and how we attack and what we do. We give a lot of creativity to our attacking players. And so we recruit kids that really have creativity in them, and we encourage that, and we train and we work in those directions too. So, and, again, it's then you're in the recruiting battles with the Carolinas and the Wakes and the Florida States and the ACC teams and Penn State, Stanfords, and UCLA. So, you're not getting all these kids falling in your lap. You still got to continue to work, but you've got to at least get a good look from some of the elite players in the country.
I think somebody's not willing to take a peek at Duke, and we got to question some things. in my personal, and that's growing up as a true Carolina fan. I tell everybody now that I'm a Duke women's soccer fan. So
good. I think we've converted a lot of people or a number of people to Duke women's soccer. We still got to work on that basketball thing. I think a lot of people.
There's just too much history there. I don't know if I can do that. What are some things that you guys are doing with your teams now? Obviously, we're extremely limited. What are some things that you're doing to try to help kind of continue to develop the team as they're away?
Yep. No, we've done a number of things, and we kind of jumped on that early because we're very fortunate. We have a team that really likes each other and really wants to be together and wants to spend time together. They laugh, they have fun. They're a great group, and they do a lot of things on their own. They do every Sunday night. They come together on their own. They have their own meetings. They do some things. But we ended up at the end of the and we're coming right. This is the last week we can have contact with them. Then exams start, so we can't have any contact back until May. But we have we have PDP meetings every Tuesday all semester with personal development meetings. So we stay with that. We broke those up into 3 groups with coaches in the groups a little bit. And so we rotate every 3 weeks. So you'd have another coach. You'd have another coach with it too. So we continued that, and that ran out on Tuesday. We ended up, Kieran Hall came up with a really, really neat little soccer program with Lane and Carla and myself with it and the input of the players. So we ended up breaking up. We had 3 weeks of, and we went into our 2020 schedule, and we ended up doing scouting reports on some of the teams. So we ended up, we ended up assigning teams. So we have 21 returning players, and we had 4 teams of 5. One team that had 6 on it. And we ended up assigning, some team had North Carolina, some had Virginia, some had Wake Forest, Clemson on down. So every week we had a head coach, and we ended up using Instat. We ended up giving them Instat. We give them Huddle so they could go back and do, and they ended up coming and giving us a scouting report. I mean, 2 things we asked. They went over a scouting report. They presented, a projected starting lineup, talk about people that graduated, talk about people that were coming in, but they had to validate everything with video. They can't say, hey, they're a direct team. Well, we want to see how they direct. They play in the channels, they play diagonal balls. Where are they direct? So they've got or they're a possession team. They play into the number 9 and they play off the number 9, and then or they're a counterattacking team. NC State's a great example of their athleticism and their players being a counterattacking team. So the team that had NC State would have to verify. So I think the girls have really enjoyed that. And we do have one more Thursday. We have one more week of that, 4 more teams left with that, and then we have to close it. So that's been something. I've spoken to them a couple times individually. I will speak to all of them one more time this week individually. So we spoke to our leadership group yesterday, and really yesterday was the first day of the whole thing that we have seen a lot of stress in the kids. I think summer school 2 is for us may not happen. I think they're getting hints and winds of that. So I think they think, well, that doesn't happen with our preseason happen, and they're stressed with final exams coming up. But so we've done a lot, and then I think a lot of our coaches, Carla and Lane has done a lot with the goalkeepers and texting back and forth with them. Kieran has a lot of girls have reached out about their projects with Kieran and what we want in the video and how to get the video. So I think we had a really good communication with our players up to this point. What really concerns me, not just our players at Duke, but I think the month of May and even into June really concerns me, because the academic part, and I know sometimes our girls are maybe a little different than some because they love school, but that academic part will be taken away from them. And then the limited right now as we stand of how much communication we can have as coaches with them, that becomes limited, not a lot of soccer pieces. I know there is in the cycle, and I don't know if it's just Division I, if it goes to Division 2, 3, but to have May be just like March and April, where we can talk soccer with them. And I think we should hear that by the end of the week. I know Coach K, if anybody's heard him on the radio over the last week, he has really, really been singing that tune. Whatever national platform he can talk about, is because I think when you take up the academic side and everybody still is at home, the other side will be there. We also have a library of work that they do. Technical work that they could do in their backyard. We've kind of, like everybody else, we have stolen and grabbed things and put in a library, and some creative things that coaches have worked on, and put a library of stuff that they can do in their backyard with the ball, with maybe one person with themselves or maybe something else. And then our strength and conditioning coach has done a really good job of updating their program every 2 weeks. She did a really, really good job of that. And then, we're just asking them, number one, to be safe and make sure they're safe and they keep their family safe. Number two, do as much as you can. And then when things open up, let's just do a little bit more as they open up. Well, the main thing they're concerned about is they just want a season. They just want a season. Everybody across the country just wants to be able to play. And especially we have 9 seniors, including 2 fifth-year seniors, that just want to play. They saw their friends lose the spring season, and our lacrosses and our softballs and our baseballs and everything else that lost. They saw that, and they're getting worried as the month goes by. And so hopefully we'll get access to them during the month of May, and that we can, continue to talk with them and continue to update them and continue to be positive things with them.
Yeah, I think we're kind of in that same boat as far as the stress levels kind of coming up, and I think that's on the coaching side as well. I think it's stressful. It's stressful for us as well, because they're looking for answers that we can't necessarily give right now, and that's definitely a hard thing for me to accept as a coach. That I can't help my players by giving them, even if they don't want to hear it, at least some information. But to just say I don't know, it's really, really hard.
Yep, for sure.
What's one of your favorite coaching memories?
There's so many over the years. There's some that's been around. Obviously, big games. We've been fortunate to play in 3 national championship games. We haven't won any of them, but we've been fortunate to play in 3 of those. But getting that journey, those journeys of all those teams, just the joy of seeing with our players going to the Final Four. And just, I wish we could do that with all our players in our program, is to have them to participate in a Final Four and just see their eyes and know that they've done something really, really special. So those have to stick out. Some wins, a couple wins at Carolina obviously stick out as a good times with them too. Some of my, I think in some cases I'm a little fortunate than other ones. I have a lot of memories and still have a lot of memories of what our players do when they leave Duke. They do, we've had 6 doctors in our program over the year. Well, we actually have 6 that have gone through Duke in our program, to be able to see them and to be able to see them become successful and come back. Now some of them coming back with kids and, pointing out the programs and seeing that. Those are great memories as a coach. And just, as I mentioned earlier, I love to see the team grow, but I also love to see the individuals grow. Not only, in a season, but over the 4-year, collectively over the 4-year, how some people have really grown as young ladies, and and how they're gonna. And you just know they're gonna be so successful when they get out in the world. But it's just, I think the big memories of seeing our players be successful, our players, a couple regular season championships in this tough league, is to reaching the top of what they're working for athletically. To see them accomplish things as a group and see them accomplish things individually, and especially when they put a lot of hard work into it, and you see them day in and day out doing extra sprints on the field, working extra in the weight room, working extra with coaches on their technique, on their technical ability too. But just, it's more, and that's why this is such a sad time, because we just don't have that interaction with the players. I don't, Zoom's great. Oh, it's a great platform for sure. And it's closed the gap, but you just don't have the same interaction that you have with your players. That's it.
Yeah, I think I don't consider myself extremely extroverted, but this time has made me really, really cherish any kind of communication that I can get. So
for sure, no, I agree 100%.
What advice do you have for young coaches?
I think, you got to be open. You got to be flexible. You got to, change. You got to change things. You got to always learn. I think I think, knowledge is power, and there's no question about that. And I think you've got to learn. If you're doing things well, there's a better way to do it, and you can find that better way, and to keep searching and keep playing. And then, I think, remembering the business we're in the student athlete business. We're here to serve the student athletes. How can we serve our student athletes too? How can we make their experience and your experience a positive experience here? And everybody's not gonna, and everybody come through Duke has not always had because you're the head coach sometimes, and you have to make some tough decisions, and you have to tell some kids they can't play when they think they can play, and you have to tell them not good enough to this level too. So, but just the best way that you can serve, and you remember that the student athlete is who we're here for, and how we can engage and make these really, really neat 4 years of college that they spend with us, especially a college coach. If I'm talking to college coaches, make them just great years, both athletically, academically, be there for them academically, and then also guide them in the social area too.
Yeah, I think that's great advice for sure. So, Robbie, we really, really appreciate you taking some time to talk with us today. Hopefully we can take care of our quarantine beards here sometime soon.
I know. Sorry, mine's so ugly, but first time I've ever had a beard, so it's I've been itching on it a little bit, scratching, but I'm determined to keep it at least till they free me, and I have to go back into it. I may wear it one day in the office and scare everybody, and after that, it comes off.
I'll send you some beard care tips, because it's obviously very, very rare that I don't have something on my face.
Thanks, Reed. This has been great. I appreciate you having me on.
Thanks, Robbie.